How has our Instagram account gone from 4,000 followers to close to 40,000 followers in the last couple of months? Let me tell you, it has not been by accident. And today on the Rainmaker Family Show, we're going to get into it and share with you 3 tips that are working for us right now.
Instagram. It's been a love-hate relationship. If you're on Instagram, you know, the algorithm's always changing, things are always going. But here's the thing. You can be a victim to it, or you can be a victor on it, right? You can be like, this is happening to me, or you can be like, this is happening for me. I'm going to leverage this thing. I'm going to figure it out. And I remember looking back, like this is way back in the day with Instagram. I was just barely crossing 10,000 followers on my personal account. And I would just watch that follower count and it would just go up and down and up and down. And this was back when Instagram would only allow you to like send links, like the swipe up feature, if you had 10,000 followers.
I remember that.
So it was like this like coveted, like, oh, I got to have 10,000 followers because I got to get the swipe up feature. We actually built even a business around it. We had this thing called Swipe Up Secrets, and we helped people reach their follower accounts so that they could have that feature because it was so valuable for business owners. This is pre-Rainmakers. And in that moment, like of just like struggling with Instagram, actually, I feel like Instagram kind of took over our lives for a little bit. It became a little bit too intense. We were doing a little bit too much of it ourselves and not outsourcing parts. And it was really draining me. And I actually took a year off of Instagram. I think it was when Kaizen was born.
Yeah.
I took a whole year off of Instagram.
Maybe even more. Yeah.
I would go on there and maybe post a story here and there, but like I didn't post in my feed for a year. So you can go back and look at my personal Instagram. There's a whole year, if not more, of where I didn't post a single thing. And I was posting like regularly. And 1, it was super refreshing. It was super refreshing. 2, our business grew more than ever in that season because I was just focused on things that were producing more fruit. But we're having a moment where now we're coming back to Instagram. Instagram is now shifting and it's become a very powerful platform for our business and for yours. So if you're listening to this episode, there are a lot of ways that you can leverage platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and these other short form platforms like YouTube Shorts to grow your business. We have lots of episodes on these topics. And so the first episode I would recommend checking out is episode 69, which is how to monetize your social media. It's a great episode that will lay a foundation for this one. But in this episode specifically, we're going to talk about the Rainmaker family Instagram and how it's gone from 4,000 to nearly 40,000. And we're continuing to grow about 10,000 followers, if not more, a month, and how we're doing that exactly.
So for any social media platform that you're using, it's really important to understand what that specific platform is favoring. And so for Instagram right now, short form content, reels, Instagram is favoring videos, not just like any kind of video, not just showing up and saying whatever. There's a specific format that we have found that is working really well.
Now, Instagram used to be like, post your photos, right? Like we were photographers. So like it was very much a post your photos platform, but it's really shifted to a video platform. Instagram has really even come out and said this, and we've even tested it. We've had quote posts, you know, like we're just like it looks like a Twitter post, right? It's just like text, and we've just done it as a photo. And then we've done it as a 1-second video. It's literally the same thing, but the video will get so much more engagement because Instagram is pushing video right now. So if you're not doing video for your business, you need to. But we're going to give you a really simple framework in this episode to make videos a lot easier. Because I remember like when we started doing videos for our business, it kind of was a little bit painful at first. I was like, oh, how do we do this? What do we say? And when we learned this framework, it really made things simple. And we actually come back to it all the time, even on the podcast. Like this is a framework that you can use that'll make your videos more impactful. They'll produce more income. They'll produce more attention for the business. And they're just overall going to perform better if you use this concept.
This concept is called Hook, Story, Offer and is taught by the one and only Russell Brunson.
I think I heard about this first in his book, Expert Secrets, maybe .com Secrets, but he talks about this concept of hook, story, offer. So write that down, hook, story, offer. You probably heard us say it before on a podcast. We're going to lean into it because this is really a key thing that helped us when we were making content on Instagram, even for just writing a post. We use this format to really hook people in, tell them a story, and then get them to do an action. Okay. So that's what you do. You hook, which means a catchy thing. So let's break these down one at a time. Okay. So hook. A hook is a catchy first few seconds. Okay. Catchy first few seconds or catchy first few words. TikTok, I feel like, is like people on TikTok who know what they're doing. They are masters at this. In the first 1 or 2 seconds, they are getting your attention right away. So some people use gimmicky things like jumping in the frame or holding up a stop sign, or it could be what you say. just the way you say it that just makes people lean in with curiosity and want to know more. The first couple seconds of your content is basically just selling the rest of your content. Like like if it's a 15-second video, the first 2 seconds are just selling. Watch the other 14 seconds because people are just like, You're trying to get them to stop the scroll. We call these scroll stoppers, hooks, scroll stoppers. What's going to get them to stop the scroll and get them to lean in and pay attention for just a second? So that's the hook.
So I want to give you just a couple of examples, and Steve and I are constantly growing and learning and improving. So just forewarning, if you go on our Instagram accounts and you're like, oh, Chelsea didn't do that, it's okay. So, but this is just when I want engagement posts, when I want to get people in and I have something to share with them, this is what I'm going after. So I'll give you one good example and one maybe not so good example and I've totally done both. Okay.
Yeah, let's start with the bad one because this is what we used to do all the time on Instagram. Because so we'd pull out our phone and it would sound like this.
Yeah. Hey guys, happy Friday. I just want to tell you about a really cool opportunity that Steve and I are super passionate about. Is totally change our lives. And we think it could change your life too.
Oh, I scrolled by then for sure.
Wasn't good enough. The passion, even though I'm like, it has changed our lives. And I am like, happy Friday, whatever day
There's a time and place for, hey guys, as your hook. But if you really want to catch people's attention, especially if they don't know you, like you, trust you yet, right? If they're your best friends or your mom, like, yes, hey guys works. But if you want to catch their attention, here's a better example.
Want to know how our family gets paid every 2 weeks from Amazon simply by supplying products to Amazon warehouses?
Ooh, that's good. I'm like, what? Gets paid every 2 weeks? So she went right into it, right? So it's a catchier hook. It's just a simple shift of your language, and you can make it your own language. But one key thing you could do, and I learned this from Colin Boyd. If you haven't listened to his episode, it is episode 79. He talked about starting in the moment. Okay. So instead of being like, hey, I grew up in Chico, California, and then you kind of like start like way at the beginning, just start in the moment of a story. I did one recently where I was talking about this guy that knocked on our front door. And instead of just telling that story in that way, I just said, I remember opening the door and thinking, who is this guy that just knocked on my door? Boom. And I went into the story, right? But that hook, I just started in the moment. I didn't start of like, hey, I heard the doorbell. And I guess that would be in the moment, but you got to figure out the moment that's going to draw people into the story and start there. You could always start in the moment, open up a loop, and then retell the story from the beginning, right? We did a talk recently where Chelsea started with, I was looking at my paper, I was in the hospital, and I was realizing this wasn't going to plan. Right. So that was the hook. It brought people in. They're like, what's going on? And then we went back to before that moment and told the story. Okay. This is just a technique. But if you do this in your stories, your reels, all these things on social media, it's going to really help you. Even if you're just someone who likes to write posts, you can do this in your posts. Okay. Here's another example. I'm going to start out with what not to do, or maybe not as catchy and engaging, and then how I would frame it up differently. So, hey guys, I've gotten a lot of questions lately about fall mini sessions, and I just want to let you know I opened up my calendar. So on the next link, you can swipe up to book. I've got a couple great different locations. I've got outfits. I'm so excited to see you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. DM me. Okay. Option one. Still like people who want to book the mini sessions with the photographer, they're going to find a way, and that is going to be engaging. But I feel like there's an even more engaging way to do that. Do fall photos stress you out every single year as a family? Well, I have a quick suggestion for you that will change the game for you and your family. I like that. That was good. This is off the cuff, you guys. So you get better at this stuff. Okay. You get better over time. You got to practice. Okay. You could do this like with your kids' bedtime stories. This is how I practice with Kaizen. I just do it with Kaizen. And then I'm not like, once upon a time, there was a blue dump truck. I'm like, crunch, crunch, the wheel is crackling over the truck. And Kaizen is like this. Yeah. And he's just like he's immediately into the story, right? Yeah. I'm like, I saw the wheels going over the ravine, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, is the dump truck gonna make it? Right. So it's like I'm immediately in the story. And another tip that Colin gave is if you really want to bring people in, and this is just like human psychology, you go in this order. You go on what you saw, what you heard, and then what you felt. Okay. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Okay. So whatever way you're going to remember that, but it's like, here's what I saw, right? So I did it with the dump truck. I saw the wheel cracking over the edge of the cliff. And I thought to myself, is the dump truck going to survive? Right. So that's auditory. It could either be what you think or what you heard, right? Oh, I heard the sound of blank. And then kinesthetic is what you felt or what you're feeling. And I could feel my shoulders tense up just even watching the driver. I wasn't sure, was he going to make it around the corner without falling off the ledge? Okay. So when you tell a story in that manner, like, and you start in the moment, you do those two things. This is something we learned from Colin, and like he's got trains world-class speakers. People are just leaning in. And this story doesn't have to be about your business. It could be about your coffee. Okay. It doesn't matter. It's going to get people engaged, and they're going to be like, every time a story comes up from this person, I watch it all the way through because I have to. Like, it's just like, I want to know what's the end of this story. And Instagram sees that, TikTok sees that, and they look at every little micro action that people are doing on your profile. And if they're engaging with your stuff, they're going to show you more.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're getting this. So you got hook, story, offer. We taught you the hook. I kind of talked a little bit about the story, but really the story is just the body of your content. It's like the middle part. It's like the middle part of your post, the middle part of your video. It's like, what is the story? Okay, so it could be a story. If you can tell a story, that's awesome. If you can do it short, that's even better. Or it's just the content of the thing. It's just a way to remember how you can frame your videos, your talks, your posts. Hook, story, okay, the content, and then the offer at the end.
Yeah. And the offer could be like launching my product, swipe up, or here's this resource, or let me know what you think. I think it also, for me, like sometimes hook, story, offer is super powerful because it is engaging. But sometimes my offer is honestly just to encourage people. So it's like, send me a DM if you feel this way, or send me an emoji, or sometimes it's even like, I hope this brightens your day, or I hope I'm giving you permission to outsource blank. Sometimes it's just that. There's not like an official, like, go buy the course. So I think that's where some people, especially small business owners, even like e-commerce business, you feel like, well, I'm not always wanting to be promoting and sending a link to buy my thing. And yes, that's true. But your offer can still, you need a way to just round it out and end it like, thanks so much. Hope this is encouraging. Like, I think that's even a fine way to end it. But just like that hook is super, super important. That gets people engaged. And I think when we start to think that way, we start to become, better brand ambassadors for what we're doing and what we're about. And then you can lead into your story powerfully. And then if you are choosing to offer something or give an encouragement, it's just a nice way to round it out. So I'm always thinking that way.
Get people into action. I feel like it's like the hook is getting to lean in. Or getting to raise their hand. Like, you're like, if you're a motivated mom who's between 40 and 42 years old, this is for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, that really got a specific person.
Have you ever wondered why sometimes you're this way and you see your friend? Do you ever feel like,
oh, that's good. Yeah.
Where are my people at who, those are just some little hooks.
So you're getting them to raise their hand and go like, that's me. Okay. And then the algorithm seeing that and attracting more people like that person raising their hand who's watching it. Okay. Like, how does TikTok know exactly what you're into? Like, when you go on TikTok, their algorithm's insane. And it's like, they know exactly what you're paying attention to. So they feed you more of that stuff. Okay. So the offer. So, okay. Hook is getting them to lean in. Story is getting them to like nod their head, take notes, like whatever it is. And the offer is getting them to take action, getting them into momentum. Even if it's just, hey, leave a like on this post, or hey, drop a comment. Like, how does this work for you? Right. So get them into action. Okay. You guys got that? Number one, hook, story, offer.
All right. Tip number 2, copy that cuts through the noise. And this has been super important that both Steven and I have been implementing for a long time on the Rainmaker family account, but now we're implementing it a lot in our own personal account. So you'll see us doing this more.
Ooh, this episode is brought to you by Steven and Chelsea's personal Instagram account.
Yes, it is.
We're growing the Rainmaker family account, but our personal accounts are lagging a little behind. So if you want to help us out and connect with us personally, go find our personal accounts. Chelsea's is Chels Diaz on Instagram, Chels_Diaz. Mine is Steez Diaz, Steez Diaz on Instagram. Connect with us personally on there. We would love to grow those accounts and connect with you because we're putting more content into those accounts in the next little bit. While video is really important on Instagram, words do still have a lot of power, and copywriting, copy is the words. When we say copy, that's the words on the post, whether it's the words on your Instagram story, the words on your reel, or the words in, I guess, what do they call that? The caption of the post on your feed. Okay, so words are very important, and you can use the same framework from tip number 1 in your words. But there's a couple of things you can do in your words that we have learned over the years that just make it more enjoyable and more catchy, more sticky for people to lean into the content, which again, Instagram's looking at. And if people are leaning in, they're going to show it to more people.
So a great example of this is I tend to be more long-winded, I like to say, when I speak as well as when I write. And recently, Stephen has been just encouraging me just create short sentences and then have spaces in between those sentences. So for instance, if you're scrolling onto Instagram and you see a large chunk of text, you can even see this on Facebook ads. You see it all the time, like large chunks of text. I almost want to skip over that because it feels like my brain is telling me that's so much information. How am I going to consume it? But really, if you write great copy that is short sentences that have spaces between and even using emojis and different things that are call to action, that breaks up the text, making it way easier for your readers, for those that are following you to consume your information. If it's broken up very short, it makes it feel easy to digest instead of
Yep.
a chunk, like a huge chunk of
Block of
sentences,
text.
block of
Oh my
text,
gosh.
which I have totally done. You can scroll on my Instagram and totally see it. You just break that up and it's just, so light and fresh and easy to read. And I've
Yeah.
even found that with myself too. I will continue reading when I see it in this format of other people. So it definitely works.
One way we do this is if you're just in the flow of consciousness and you just, wow, I'm being really creative, just, flow. Don't worry about the spaces and the short sentences, okay? Just flow and then go back and look at it and make it shorter. One tool that I use sometimes is called Hemingway tool or HemingwayApp.com. And it's Hemingway was a writer who wrote in short sentences and it made it very powerful. So you throw your big block of text in there and it'll show you all the sentences that are run-on sentences that are too long, that aren't definitive. It'll give you tips and you can shorten it and make it more powerful. But sometimes you just look at the text and it's just really easy to go instead of saying I went to the store and then I found a piece of bread, right? You can just go, I went to the store, I found a piece of bread. Right. It's just it's different, right? It just hits differently. Okay. And so you just do short sentences, period. Okay. If you're using ands and becauses, just try to put a period there and start a new sentence. And so you do a sentence, right? I went to the store, return. I bought a piece of bread, return. I'm doing two spaces, two returns. So it's I have lines, I have breathing space between them. Okay. I know this is super basic, but once you do this, you're wow, this works. Okay. So I'm going to read you a recent post that I did on Instagram last night. This episode's probably coming out in the future. But if you look at my account, Steez Diaz again on Instagram and Chelsea's is Chelsea Diaz. But if you look at mine, it's a thumbnail of Chelsea holding a big award. She's pulling out his box and there's styrofoam peanuts coming out. Okay. So
Very exciting.
Listen to this copy. Okay. For years, I had recurring dreams. I was wandering the hallways of a school looking for my class. Always a different school, always a futuristic school, always a massive school. Different dream, but same theme. Over and over. It would be a few months. And as I started to forget the dream, there it was again. I was wandering the hallways, waking up before I found my class. Okay, so this story goes on, but it's I'm just doing sentences. And I like to use a lot of repetition and rhythm as well. If you're kind of reading it, I'm always a different school, always a futuristic school, always a massive school. I'm kind of repeating things, different dream, same theme, right? So I'm using language that's just I'm getting people into a rhythm. Okay. This takes time. I'm not an expert at this, but when you start spacing it out, you kind of get in the creative flow. How can you make this thing like a song? That people are reading, they're just drawn in. The thing is on Instagram, when you're scrolling through your feed, do it right now. I just see Will Smith right now. It says, it's been 1 year since I released Will the book, over 1 million copies sold. And then there's a little more, right? So that little first line is your hook. Okay. All you're doing with that first line is selling the more. Okay. The clicking the more. And now I'm reading more, right? So for this one, it's I had this dream for years and years. And then it's you click more and then you get to read more. Okay. So that first line's your hook. All you're doing is selling, clicking more. Okay. And when people click more, Instagram sees that.
Yeah.
They see every little micro interaction people are making. If everyone's clicking more, they know your content is drawing people in.
So to recap so far, tip number 1, hook story offer with video specifically, but it can also be used in your copy, which leads us to tip number 2, copy that cuts through the noise. So remember to include hook story offer in the words that you are using, make them short sentences so it's easy for your readers to digest and have spacing in between.
That leads us to growth tip number 3. And this is something that we just started dabbling with, but we've really started to lean into it. And this has been the thing that's really started to scale our account. Now, having good content is definitely the foundation, because if you do this, it's gasoline on the fire. But if you don't have a fire, the gasoline's just going to make you all soggy. Okay. So we had good fire first, and then we put gasoline on that. And number 3 is influencer shout outs. Influencer shout outs. Okay. So influencer shout outs or collaborations is a way to drive attention to your account. Now, if you listen to episode 69, we talk about how to optimize your social media profiles like a funnel, like a website that's going to drive an action, like following the account or like clicking the link in the bio or like whatever it is. Okay. So if that is your funnel or your website, how can you advertise that funnel? How can you get it in front of more people? The way we've been doing this is influencer shout outs. Now, sometimes these are influencers with hundreds of thousands, if not millions of followers, right? But the more reach someone has, the more they're going to charge for a shout out. Yes, we're paying for these shout outs, but we have run a business and this Instagram generates money. And so we do pay for these shout outs, but that doesn't mean you have to start there. Okay. We actually work with an agency that helps us lock in these shout outs, and they're shouting us out almost every day and driving traffic to our account. Then the account is optimized for follows. The content's good. People hit follow. And that's how we're growing 10,000 plus followers a month. But you don't have to start there. We've grown our way up to that. And when we were in the early days of Instagram, we got really creative with how we would leverage other people's traffic. The thing is, like, everyone you follow on Instagram, like, and trust to a certain extent. But there's certain people you follow on Instagram that like you love their stuff. Like every post they have, you're like, I just want to watch their post. I want to see their stuff. The thing is, that person, they have this audience trust. So if they recommend your account or someone like that recommends your account, there's a lot more rapport there to go, oh, I'm going to follow. Cause like if she says she likes this person, I'll probably like that person too. And so in the early days of our Instagram, we would do this with micro influencers, with people even that had similar following to us.
So if you're building a brand, or I'm going to go back to the photography announcement, if you are doing a promotion for your photography business or offering a lot of mini sessions, a simple way to do this is honestly just post on your page like, hey, I'm looking for people to partner with my next launch. Go ahead and send me a DM like hashtag I'm interested or whatever the word you want to do, and get people interested. And from there in your DMs, you can be like, hey, my launch date is this. And you can kind of decide what it is. Maybe you're paying them. Maybe you're just saying, hey, I'll send you a product for free if you just post like about my product launch, whatever it is. It can be as simple as that. It doesn't have to be somebody with tens of thousands of followers. It can just be like even your local people, like even friends and family, I think is a great way to help promote your business as well.
I remember there's a local restaurant that launched in our town, and they did this. They just went in Chico Instagram, right? Yeah. And like looked at the hashtag and looked at the locations. They found people that were influencers. Some of these people had followers, but some of these people just were well connected. I don't know how they came up with their list of people, but then they invited these people specifically to a night at the restaurant where I think they got free food, and they just like went above and beyond, and they just encouraged the people, hey, share on Instagram if you like it. And it really created a buzz around this restaurant to be like, wow, have you seen, like, I saw this person went there. Oh, I saw this person went there. Yeah. And it was like kind of the cool kids club of who got an invite to this restaurant. We didn't get an invite, you guys. So I was a little bit like, what? Like, come on. Okay. So, but it worked, right? And it got us to go, oh, I want to try that restaurant. And we were like, it was like, we had an anniversary coming up or something. And like, Chelsea's mom's like, what do you want? And we were like, we want a gift card to that restaurant. Right. And so it got us, right. And so, this can work, like Chelsea said, with physical products, with information products, with coaching businesses. With the physical product thing, that's a great idea. Just saying, hey, we're building a launch team. We're coming out with this new product soon. If you want to be on our launch team and receive some hookups, like shoot me a DM, right? You don't have to give them stuff for free, but you could give them maybe some savings if they're willing to shout it out. And if you see a lot of people shouting out something in one time period, you're like, oh, I'm going to pay attention. Book authors do this all the time. Like when they launch a book, they go on a ton of podcasts, they go on a ton of media, they do like a virtual book tour, and you're like, wow. Like my mom will send me stuff. She's like, I've seen everyone posting about this book. It must be good. But it's like that person engineered that promotion. They got on all those shows at the same time. Everyone's talking about the one thing that creates a buzz and creates influence. one last way you can do this, even if you're just getting started, is just find people with similar audiences.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you serve a certain type of person with your business or your service or your Instagram account, and you have someone else that you found who has a similar following to you and also has a similar audience, and you're not in competition, you can collaborate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if you do some trades? Do a trade of shout outs. Hey, I would love to promote you like every other Friday, for the next couple months. Would you do the same for me? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of create a partnership like where you guys are pushing each other's audiences and cross pollinating, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's enough followers, there's enough business, there's enough everything to go around. And if you do this with multiple people, you can all grow together. So that wraps it up. Those 3 tips, take them and run. Hook, story, offer, copy that cuts through the noise, and using influencer shoutouts or collaborations to grow your account faster than it would on its own. So take these and run. If you want to see them in action, follow us at the Rainmaker Family on Instagram. If you want to connect with us personally, we got at Steez Diaz on Instagram and at Chelsea Diaz on Instagram as well. And we're definitely leaning into these things. We got teams that are helping us out with these things, and you can see how our teams are doing it, as well as we are personally leaning into these things as well. So if you want to see it in action, again, we are not perfect, but if you want to see it in action and learn from watching us, feel free.
Thanks for catching another week's episode of the Rainmaker Family Show. We'll see you all soon. Hey, if you are not a part of our Rainmaker Mastermind, we have a new opportunity for you to book a one-on-one strategy call with one of our Rainmaker coaches.
If you want to get a call with them, see if it's a good fit for you to work with us to build a business that allows you to have time freedom and financial freedom, you can get that call at makeItrainmama.com/podcast. That's makeItrainmama, MOMMA.com/podcast.